Hello everyone and welcome to today's video. I'm Toby and as you can see in the background here, it's a little darker than it usually is. We're doing this right after the games just ended. So PEL just finished their first day of week number 4. We have hit the halfway mark, kind of. And yeah, it's once again 5 games, 2 times Miramar, 1 time Sanhok, 2 times Erangel. Same old, same old, same old. And I am very curious to see how exactly things unfolded, because I only got to see bits and pieces of all the different games. I didn't get to sit down and see the whole thing, which I normally would. So the way I normally do it is, if I don't get to watch the whole game in the evening, then I'll sit back and rewatch the games the day after. And then by the time I start the analysis, I will have watched, if not the entire thing, then most of it. But today I actually, I probably only got to see, out of the whole broadcast, probably like 35-40 minutes in total. So it's gonna be interesting to see how it's all going to pan out for me. Will I miss things? And also, of course, for those of you guys watching on Twitch, if you're, I mean, now you just watch the games, right? So now it's even more in the more recent past. So maybe you can correct me and stuff. I hope there won't be anything needed for corrections, but we'll see. We'll see. Game number 1 will get started as we speak. Phew, that, my friends, is a somewhat northern plane. Good thing is, we don't really have any teams that are highly needed of going down here. Seven and Navi, which are the 2 teams we normally highlight, they have their go-to spots up here. They're in all kinds of good shapes. And DA, they're practically outside of the map, who go down to loss as well. But they've been on the northern side plenty of times before as well. So not really an issue for anyone. Desperados, they normally go in Impala. They can go down and have fun with Gamer Legion and Chumacera. But other than that, I mean, we should be pretty gold. Northern Circle, though. I feel like we've drawn up these circles approximately 1 billion times before. But I guess that's just because there's been a reason to it. The interesting thing here is, and now we only have 2 teams, maybe 3, that are outside of the circle on the southern side. But I mean, there's a long stretch of land you don't really want to cross through. You can go up here, this direction, and other than that, honestly, you kind of have to go wrap all the way around, either through by water treatment or over. I wouldn't assume to see reciprocity go anywhere within here. I would see them either wrap north around or go under. They're not going to go all the way underneath. But I wouldn't expect reciprocity to be driving up here. That would be surprising to me. But we'll see. We'll see. Navi, they're going to get looted on the northern side. Base, they're going to get themselves looted. Hamster is... Huh. That's kind of interesting. I didn't even notice that. Again, didn't watch the entire broadcast, so I will miss a few things. Hamster takes a car. There's a spawn up here. And immediately sends it to this compound. We've talked about Gamer Legion splitting and taking more control when they're getting kind of contained by Desperados, but sending Hamster up here, that's dangerous, because Vex is far away, Bjorn and Makan are far away too, and if FaZe figure out that there's a player up there and they kind of just commit to aggressing on him, there's not a whole lot you can do if you're Hamster in that situation. So Fuss drives on over. They know where he is. He pretty much just crashes into the compound. Does he know that he's there though? Now Mexi comes as well. Everyone's crashing over in that direction. We'll see the bigger picture in just a moment. They're trying to contain 3 players coming over to help. Hamster goes down. Dead he is. And that's it for him. So Gamer Legion down 1 guy early. And in the meantime, a lot of other things happen. Obviously, we see the whole phase push down here. Would assume Desperado are just going to use that to wrap around. And that's exactly what happens. DMT goes up to try and get info. 7, they commit to compounds. That's early. We've had this. Okay, so if you guys watched last week's games, we had a very, very good discussion on high ground versus compound play. Please go back and watch that video if you're watching on YouTube. And if you're not watching on YouTube, please go watch that video, because we're very in depth with the whole difference in whether you play up or whether you play the compounds below in these areas where you have very high ground areas and you have some very low ground compound areas too. Gamma Legion, the last one, they're gonna start crossing over. Liquid shooting a bit at them, not too much coming off of it. Okay, Gamma Legion forcing themselves into El Pozo. Teams goes down, trying to scout the compound. 7 is there early. I kind of like the play. It's different from what we've seen them do before. Raise Your Edge and G2, they're fighting over these. We've seen Raise Your Edge in this compound many times before. And they like sticking around here. You can get some decent vision. They knew that DA was up on the top compound, so they couldn't go there. Now they're forced to leave. And this, of course, there we go. This is a whole other set of issues. I mean, this is a pretty... Look at this ridge line. It pretty much goes from here, all the way underneath to here. If you're planning on bringing vehicles, you can't push this way. You need to wrap all the way around, kind of up to La Copraria. So if you're face, you need to wrap. If you're Game of Legion, you kind of need to wrap too. And all these teams that are up here now, they're going to have a very, very, very hard time in trying to get anywhere north, because they're going to be clustering around on top of each other. Not the easy situation to be in whatsoever. Unless if Crowcrowd, they just full speed send it, they might have a chance. But you can see already now that gap is getting smaller and smaller, especially with NIP positioning themselves up here too. TSM, they wrap around. They don't want to commit to La Copraria completely. Ends up there, Desperados, N47 are there, Navi, DA. So many teams opting to play the northern side rather than potentially getting stuck inside the creative field area on the southern side. Base, they do get to wrap around. Game of Legion played slow on the backside. Reciprocity and Raise Your Edge, they're kind of running into each other on the east. Game of Legion eliminated. Tried to push down towards Tixu, didn't work. New Circle shifts back south. And okay, we've been here a billion times before. We've had these endings so many times in the past, and anyone that is now inside the craters, that's the issue, right? If you get caught in the craters now and the next circle shifts away from there, anywhere north, honestly, I'm not gonna say it's impossible, but you're gonna have an extremely hard time trying to get out of there. It's gonna be, it's going to be extremely difficult. It's pretty simple. If not impossible, then something close to it. So Liquid, they're under all kinds of pressure. Gemty tries to make a runoff. He's the last player, I believe. Yep, seems like he's a solo. We only have 2 teams really committed inside the Copraria. Now Reciprocity comes as well. And this is the shift that everyone feared. And I think actually that's why, of course, Gemty is by himself already. But that's probably why he left. Because he knew, if I get stuck down here and have to run up, and there's a team that gets the position up on the top pretty much anywhere, there's no way they're letting me leave here. So he got out early. That might give him some placement points. There's still 15 teams alive, so I don't know exactly how much he can make of it, but there's a chance at least for him to do something. Crowcrowd, they're on the southwestern side. They're gonna be forced to make a move as well, and as you can see, face, wrap around, contain, get a spot inside the circle. Now you can hold off everyone. If they were sitting out here and the other teams got to go up, then they would be the ones being held out. So Uber realizes quickly we need to make a move. They go up to try and help contain the guys inside of the crater itself. Knights, they're forced to go inside. Not optimal situation, because now TSM, they were only Gustav over here before, but now all the other guys came across, and that's that's only gonna make things harder for them on their side. Crowcrowd tries to leave. Misa does manage to escape. Gemty finds him. That's of course unfortunate. Well, even though it's a good point for Gemty, it's still now everyone knows there's a player there. So had he been able to hide it a little longer, then maybe they wouldn't even consider peeking that at some point later. But as you can see, this is actually a fun circle, because if we take from where Navi is, which technically isn't La Copraria, but we take where Navi is and we draw a line, there's like a big buffer zone. And this whole buffer zone is what you could call the mountain. This is pretty much just the mountain ridge all the way up. So you can draw a line there, you can draw a line there. Everything in here is currently, at least, not played by more than one person. That's a lot of terrain. If you zoom out, that's a lot of terrain that is not being used by anyone. You know why? Because there's very little playable terrain inside that area. You have some dips, one of them being where EMT is. You have a compound up on the eastern side. But there's a lot of terrain here which teams can't really go to unless if they want to take fights on two sides. And I think that's why Chris is crossing now. They know we need to make a play. GMG has that one spot we can play from. And on the northern side too, La Cobraria is, you have this whole big wall. It's not just a broken wall that you can kind of vault over. It's a massive wall that you have to run around. And that means that for the teams that do manage to make it out here, if they know for a fact, if they know that there's going to be no threats for them on the south, that they can just look north, then they pretty much only have 3 different kind of gaps they have to worry about. Here, here, and here. And that makes it so much easier, as opposed to if there had been no walls, then they could have been peeking them from everywhere, right? But these walls, they make it safer to stay inside the city, but they make it really hard to leave the city. And the same thing going the other way around. Makes it hard for you to breach, because you'll only have those areas to go to, but it makes it very easy for you to contain once teams are trying to leave. Make sense? I hope it does. D2, still 4 guys up trying to cross on over. They know for a fact that there's a billion teams still inside La Cobraria that might have to leave soon. TSM, they're playing the northern side, or the uphill. Uphill is north. No, they're playing the hilltop on the southeast. Of course, they have Rory and Gustav just making sure that nobody's, like, none of they hear all this fire, all the commotion, and they're just making sure that nobody's leaving. Gustav, same thing we saw with Face before. Push over, make sure they can't wrap underneath. Get a spot, contain. Minox is sneaky peekingly making his way forward. Michael is coming over to assist. And that's their only focus right now for TSM. They just need to make sure that nobody leaves this area. Minox goes down. Fight escalates in the north. I mean, that was going to happen eventually, but there's not a whole lot to analyze. It's just chaos. Everyone's fighting on top of each other. You can see this. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different teams on top of each other trying to fight their way out. And there can only be one team leaving. I mean, there can pretty much only be one team leaving that area. TSM and FaZe forced into a 4v4. TSM, they're actually... Okay, so TSM is focusing their fire down towards this, knowing that the teams have to leave this little area. They think they can get some kills, but I don't think they're expecting there to be a FaZe team up in the hill. And you can see immediately, AT comes over the top, gets himself a double. And that puts them in a really tough spot, because now G2 might have a chance to third party. You can see they're starting to make their move up. FaZe, they just completely 4-0 wipe TSM, who were not at all prepared for that engagement. Yeah, exactly. Just one nade to take out 2 of them, and that pretty much gives them the upper hand in a fight that TSM just wasn't not necessarily prepared for, but at least in that situation that they weren't ready for at all. And now all of a sudden, FaZe can play this entire ridge the same way that TSM was actually trying to do it before, because they thought they had the ridge line to themselves, but now FaZe knows they have the ridge line, and they can start splitting out. They can take full control of this entire line and focus all their fire down the hill. Of course, at the same time, making sure no one's flanking up. That's why I have Mexi and Fuss on each their edge. This is gonna get excluded. Everyone's gonna die. Now it's a 4v4 between FaZe and G2. They have the downhill position, so they're kind of looking up, which is always tricky in PUBG. Not exactly an easy spot to play from. FaZe, they've been cleaning the entire way through, and they should be able to get this one too. Yep, there you go. 4 kills and still keeping 8C and Fuss up and live. And then just look at the way they play it from early on. Their first thing, like, they actually get their first knock of the game towards Hamster. That doesn't matter too much, but still, they never, you rarely ever see FaZe. And there are certain other teams you can say the same thing with, but you rarely ever see a team like FaZe lose a player where you go, well, that was stupid, or that was pointless, or why did they lose him there, or he overstepped. Look at this. Fuss drives over. I'm not sure if Fuss is aware that that Hamster is there, but he drives over, obviously figures out that he is there, and then he kind of just stalls and waits for his teammates to come help. And once they're there, boom, they wipe him, get going. So no players lost early. Then they start rotating forward. You can follow phase all the way through. Get to El Pozo. Rotate smart. Go through the middle. Up in the northern side. Now the new circle pops. Doom. We can stay inside. Good, we have the vision. We'll keep our eyes down here and make sure no one from here pushes up towards our side. So we have to show some sort of presence in this direction, while at the same time with Mexi making sure none of these guys decide to push up here. So right now our job is just to maintain a certain buffer or space that we can work in. With the next circle shifting, now they know immediately we have to take control. Whoop. Uber immediately over there. If these guys, as we said before, if they're allowed to push up and be the ones containing phase, all of a sudden they will be under fire from not only here, but most likely also the teams that have now settled inside the new circle, potentially down here, up towards them, and that could have been them out early. So they make a smart play over, make sure to contain. New circle pops, play your side, make sure they don't come to you. Just constantly work with space. That is very important. We've seen Uber with his minis and all that. He's very, very talented at distance. Also very good up close. I mean, he's just scary in all aspects. But it's how they play the game to their advantage that is really, really good. Because they never sit. I mean, sometimes we see, yes, phase can get circle 4, circle 5 thrown right in their face. This game, it doesn't happen. They move really, really smart. They never take up big chunks of the circle, but they know when to spread and how to do it. It's not just, oh, we need to get 100 meters of control in this and that direction. Doesn't matter. It can be 50. As long as you know what you have to work with, like how much space you have to maneuver in, and and that you can set up some sort of perimeter and play it smart. What do I think Liquid is doing differently this phase for them to have only one win? I don't think they're doing things that differently. I think other teams are playing different, which is kind of screwing them over sometimes. They have had room on rotations before, where now they don't have that much room anymore. They have had situations with DA that do things that maybe they weren't prepared for, that I don't think anyone is prepared for. So I don't think it's because, like, there's probably, I mean, I think I can name, out of all of phase 3's games, there's probably at least 5 games where if we go back 2 circles before the game ends, I can go, well, they could have won that game. Sometimes it just comes down to those very, very, very minute, really, really small scenario things that ends up determining the outcome of a game, and they have just not been on the winning side of those. I don't think they've done a whole lot of different things. I don't think you can look at the stats and count up wins as its own, because they still have a lot of high placement points, or high, like, average placements. We can see. Let's see, actually. Speaking about it. Teams. So TSM right now averages 7th place overall. Liquid is only 2 places behind. So Liquid is 3rd place on placements on average, despite only having 1 win. That kind of goes to show, right? Kind of tells the story of how well they're doing. 4th. Sorry, I was looking at the wrong stats. No, they are 3rd. They are 3rd. Sorry, they are 3rd. So clearly it's not because they can't get to late game. It's just they can't really close out the games the way they would have wanted to. That was game number 1. We're gonna throw it straight into game number 2. Boink, boink, boink. Whew. This is probably the best plane in all of PEL. Every team can go where they want. Yeah, exactly. They have to be able to close out the games, and that's the only thing. That is a very center circle. This game I didn't really get to see, so I hope something fun happens. I hope something fun happens. Now let's see. Decent plane, everyone can go where they want. Everybody will go where they want. And the center of the circle, there's not really anything to take. I mean, you can play this compound. Probably if you're... I don't know. I rarely ever see TSM push down. They normally stick here or further north in these circles. But I would expect to see a team like Liquid push up. Don't know if they just settle here, if they go 2-way split with these two. Maybe they take some of Graveyard. 3-way split. But I would expect one of those teams. I mean, again, Knights I rarely ever see come down either. They'll probably stay up here. I don't know, we'll see. But everyone going where they want to, yep. Teams rotates immediately. Oh, Gustav actually did go down in that direction. So he did go for that. But James is there early on. It's a good control compound. You have a lot of intel on what happens around you. And they actually do that 2-2 split. Knights, they're gonna stick over on the eastern side. What? Forced to go to graveyard. I don't think that's where he wanted to go. Now he's in, like he has opponents in between. DA, they're coming down on this side. Again, you don't want to have to. The thing is, this road right here, that goes from up here down to Picado, that's very, very dangerous to cross once all these compounds and areas are taken control of, because it's steep uphill on both sides. And, you know, uphill means you driving slower, meaning more shots potentially being fired towards you, meaning the slower you drive, the easier you are to hit. Also meaning you'll probably get knocked. So the less you can have to cross, like if you can set yourself up on the correct side of this road early on, then you're in, like then your chances of winning, they increase pretty drastically. So NIP and Liquid, they're kind of split in between each other. TSM, they're keeping their 4-way split, but more and more teams are coming in between them too. DA, they're on the south side. Game of Legion, N47 down there as well. Everyone's kind of just waiting for that circle. And that's the thing. Everybody's close to the middle now because they want to, as I said, you want to cross once and have that be the only time you cross. And then be on the correct kind of chunk. Because this is all uphill land that is hard to get to. This is terrible terrain to run around in its own, around Minas. You have the big open hill areas, and then you have the city. So very different scenarios that require for very different play styles, and they want to see where it's being thrown. We'll see. Circle 2 pups. Okay, not guaranteed. Oh yeah, this is okay. I think I saw the ending of this one. It goes up to power grid, but interesting nonetheless. We have the mountain line, which is difficult to traverse through. From here to pretty much here, you cannot really go up. I think it goes kind of over here as well. You can't really get up here. I mean, you can technically, but it takes a very long time, and it's very difficult to do. Liquid, they crash in towards Knights. They will play the ridge line there. Of course, more teams are gonna start to crash over. And IP, they're just full speed sending it towards the building. DA trying to cross up. They'll get spotted out by Reciprocity. Game of Legion is staking on the southern side. That's a little surprising. I thought they were gonna go up and take some control up here. But they stay down south. N47 managed to wrap around them. They're playing the hills above. New circle pups. Oh, that's a tough shift. Because you have to look at what's playable, right? What do you have available in this area? If you're Desperados, you can push up to this hill, from which you'll have to fight Crow Crowd and most likely get third-partied by TSM. Or you can try and wrap around, but where do you go? Not really anywhere to go. You can try and wrap through this compound and go up on the backside. Or you can try and send it through the middle over, but you can't really stop anywhere. Like once you hit the road, you can't really stop anywhere before you're practically all the way up on the top. Because as long as this is in and the compound, they'll all be able to see you. This as well. They will all be able to see you. So you can't really stop. If you come in from the northern side, you can't really stop from here all the way up to here. And you don't want to have to drive that far on this rotation. So tough rotation coming in for the northern teams. Of course, they could push into San Martin and hope that the circle goes up here. But I mean, we have seen a San Martin ending last week. So never say never. But there's a small chance of that happening. And I can't really see what else it could do. Liquid, try to play center. Pretty much the only dip you can play in when you're coming from the south. TSM, they're forced to make a move. This is just what we talked about. They'll play the dip. So just before you get to the road, there's the dip on that side they can play. Michael stays behind. Not sure if this is on purpose. Might have been actually, in case the circle shifts back north, they can just immediately go back to where they were before. plenty of teams around power grid. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 teams on the power grid side. 9 with Crow Crowd, and then you have all these teams on the east. And wow. Okay, this is a brutal circle shift. Because everything from the circle edge, when you're like, you can see the dirt road that goes here, right? Everything from here all the way to, except for the little dip here, all the way to here, there's nothing to play until you get to where these teams are already. So this whole stretch, like this whole area here, just becomes dead space. Which is areas that if you come in from the southern side, you need to go through, which means that for reciprocity, they're forced to go north around. There's no shift you can make on this side of the circle because of the mountain on the south. So for all the teams on the northern side, we just talked about the whole crossing the road before, they just need to send it. I mean, they just need to full speed make their way up towards the power grid area, because you cannot play anything here. There are ridge lines here, but everybody knows that it's going to be so contested on that side of the circle too that you can't really do a whole lot from there. Right now we have 58 people alive. I am very curious to see what that number will be once once this circle is closed in. Desperados go for info. They go up against Crow Crowd. Surprised actually that Crow Crowd lose too, because they should be expecting that push. They're forced to play quiet on the backside. Ultra is trying to hold them off. He goes down. They try to wrap further underneath. Not gonna happen. That's the thing. Everyone is forced to take the fight on the other side of the road. Because as we said, as soon as you cross, can't do a whole lot anymore. So TSM still back on their other side of the road. Circle shifts away from them again. And at this point, it just, I mean, for everyone that is still by the road, they have to really get lucky with engagements happening up here, because there's no reason at all for 7, for example. There's no reason for them to look in towards power grid right now. All they should be worried about is making sure no one is coming like their direction. They just have to stop that. Same thing for NIP. They don't need to worry about what's inside here right now. They just need to make sure that the teams don't come up. Maybe even there's like a bit of a dip on the below path. Maybe even send a guy down to help even more in containing. Hello, Hornheim. How are you doing? Hornheim, sorry. It's the EI that confuses me. DA as well. Of course, they need to make sure they don't get pushed from close, but they also need to make sure that no one wraps up towards them. Game Allegiant, play the south side. So everyone that is... We can draw a zone like this. Everyone that's within this already, they most likely are not going to be... So how many was alive before this shift? 58. And then this one takes us down to... takes us down to like 35, something like that. So we lost 20 players in 1.5 circle shift. Very, very brutal. Very, very brutal circle shift. Yeah, it's a very, 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 very tough shift. So let's see. Circle, I mean, everyone that's in here right now, they're all going to be looking out. They're all going to be looking out, which makes it so much harder for these guys, because it's not only, oh, Liquid, they can push up and then they can fight these guys. Nope. As soon as they start shooting here, these guys will be shooting over at them. These guys will be shooting over at them. So it's not just you looking inward. It's you looking inward, trying to move inward while having teams on your side shoot at you. That's what makes it so hard. That's why, especially on Sanhok and areas like these, the more space you can make early, it's practically impossible in this situation because of the terrain they're in. But the more space you can make, the less of a chance of getting clustered. If that makes sense. TSM forced to cross, they're running into phase. 2 eliminated, Gustav on his own, running all by himself up towards Liquid. In the meantime, again, everyone up here pretty quiet right now. None of them are really gonna overcommit to anything. Circle, once again, shrinks pretty much inside of power grid. And as we said before, they're just this is Alamo. Like, this becomes one big Alamo, and all these teams inside power grid are just trying to hold the horde away. Like, this is just like final stand from inside. Cannot leak any creeps. Or whatever is they say in tower defense and stuff like that. Circle shifts north. Okay. So everything south obviously becomes pretty much a city fight inside this compound. And I like how they play this one in IP. They don't want to... Actually, they do that from earlier on. They have this plateau below with a few structures that they can play from, and they send NBS down to help contain. Once the fight with Phase and 7 escalates, they know if we can clear just one side, we have something we can call our own. They can go out and take control, and they do that. They cannot let teams push to them and contain them. That's gonna be a suicide, because then the next circle goes here, and the guys can just sit here and wait for them to die. So they need, like, they know we need to be proactive. We cannot just sit and hide it out. We need to go out and take like some dominance in this situation. So they do that, go out, eliminate one team. Now Mexi and Uber by themselves. Smart playing by NIP, great splitting as well. Reciprocity, they're still outside, haven't really found their entrance. They have like this whole ridge line they can work with. It goes pretty much all the way along here. And as long as you can see Uder is making his way further over this direction, as long as they can make sure they have that, then they have like at least a certain path on the eastern side that they can maneuver in between. Ends go down. Game of Legion need to make their way forward as well. Ooh, that's risky. So Vard goes down, I think. Yeah, they just get sandwiched. Or like double visioned or whatever you call it. They get shot at from two sides. NBS not in a position to help, unfortunately. Mexi goes down. Uber's there for the rest. Not gonna happen. So a bit of revenge coming in for Gaxi, I guess you can say. Knights forced to leave the building. They'll push into this god-awful territory, like kind of the actual power station itself. And this just becomes a clustered up-close fight, that where you can't really do a whole lot. Again, this is where it becomes a little tricky to analyze from a map perspective. But you have, I think it's like a broken truck here. And some container-ish cover over here. At least there's some stuff that you can hide behind. Which is obviously what ends up happening, because the circle is going to go here. So the more control you can take, the better. This becomes extremely hard to cross, but I'm sure there's smokes everywhere. NIP, get up to the wall, try and take control. Udyr, nice little backside position, can potentially see them over there. Monkey and Udyr push together. Monkey goes down, but that's the elimination of all the guys up top. And now it's 3 solos. And Reciprocity left alive. Udyr down. 1 down. Should be able to find Vasco as well. This is interesting ending. Look at this. We have... I mean, speaking of placement points, right? And how hard it is to get to late game. Think at this point. Think about what all these teams have been through to get where they are here. Think about how much they've been fighting. We're 29 minutes into the game. Some games end at 28, right? And we still have 7 teams alive. If you go down now, let's say you're Vasco and N47, and you don't have any kills yet, we can see actually. Let's see. Yeah, if they have 1 kill. If N47 die now, this will be, despite them surviving for almost a half hour in this game, they will survive until the death circle. And they will get 2 points this game. Who does go down? Gustav gets eliminated. TSM. You can't see because of my webcam, but they had 2 kills. So this is, despite how long Gustav survives for, it becomes a 3-point game for them. That's tough. That is very, very, very tough. But anyway, that was game number 2. Now we'll throw it over to our Sanhok game of the day. Let's see if anything interesting happened on Sanhok. I wonder how predictable these circles were. Let's find out, shall we? Decent plane. Everyone can go where they want to. Desperados, they're out early. 7, they're going north. Those are the only 2 teams that we really see change up things ever. And then we have this whole thing with DA and G2. I think it's G2 that has started contesting some of DA's compounds. But they've been fighting each other for a little while now. Seems like DA got themselves the first, got themselves the second on towards Nels as well. Now the circle goes east. Okay. Crossface has claimed this while everyone is fighting up here. I mean, not while, but he has claimed this a long time ago. Because a lot of games, they do end down in this area, just based on where the circles go. Let's see if we look down south. Reciprocity, they'll obviously just shove their butts over to the other side. TSM, pretty easy gateway for them to cross to. I think NIP would do the exact same thing before any potential camp is set up anywhere. But they know for a fact that FaZe like playing this compound, so they probably wouldn't push that far, but stop up here and go some direction. TSM, they push out from this side. They normally, like, they've set three-way split down here, but with the circle shifting the way it did, I was just going to say, I would assume that they split a bit further. Also, you don't want to get contained inside boot camp. You can pretty much hold 1 or 2 positions, and it can be practically impossible to leave this area. NIP, they push through Painan. That's interesting. They hurt the vehicles from Knights. Wheels crosses with the bike. They get their vehicles over. Oops, what am I doing here? So this becomes a three-way fight early, and as horrible as this is, because you don't want to get clustered in a fight this early, it's actually gonna like make a lot. I don't know how much more comes off of this fight, but this could mean that a lot more room will be given later on in the game. As we can see, I mean, we've already lost 8 players, and we're only 7 minutes in. New circle pops. Oh my lord, a circle within this area. Oh, what a surprise! Never seen that one before. Literally just the same circles on repeat. Liquid realized this, obviously. They've normally been the ones sitting out on the side, and as I said, with this circle shift, they would have wanted to be more center. 7, they crossed late. Gamer Legion. Fex is by himself on the northern side. Not sure what he's doing up there. Hamster is further down. Reciprocity, they're going to come in late. Didn't want to have to take the fight with Knights, so they're going to cross over safely. N47 sitting on the quarry side. New circle is going to pop. And we go back down there again. Interesting. I'm really, really interested to see those, oh, where has the game ended type circles that they always make at the end of the phase. Because there are very, very few areas that these games end in. And it's as if people have realized that already. EA trying to get the compound. They always sit in this compound. Now they come up. Wait, it's taken? Oh, that's unfair. So they're forced to play in the open. Very unlike DA. And they start falling apart. Liquid try pushing out towards him. Braxco and Chris managed to take center position. Now they're getting shot at though. That could be a fight they don't want to have to take, especially against the Liquid when they're 4v2. N47, they're getting a little tag. Oh, Ins was there early. I was just gonna say they're getting tagged up here by Crowcrop, but that's not the case. Crowcrop came in late, flushed 1, and now N47, they might have the spot in the circle, or the closest spot to it, but it's not safe at all. And this is a play that we've seen actually at Reciprocity. They've done this exact play in this exact circle before, where they come up and take this hilltop, and they do the exact same thing again. Once the circle was okay, pretty much marked exactly where they were going. They have played this exact spot previously where they sent it. I think there were only 3 guys alive when they did that last time, but this time around, full speed forward. It's a DA thing to do, but they get up, they get full control, and now they're inside the circle. Unfortunately, though, they have to fight off Navi on their side. Team eliminated once again on the west. NIP managing to rack up more kills. They have NIP has started to show a bit of promise on Sanhok. I feel like they've been one of the few teams that you can go back and say, okay, they're actually starting to get things going, despite teams normally not really having the greatest success on that map. Now we're trying to push in. Liquid, they're obviously just playing the compound, but not playing compound as in hiding, but playing compound as in making sure no one's able to push towards your buildings. Circle shifts in the compound once more. Reciprocity forced to shove around. Misa manages to wipe out G2. And again, I would do a lot more analytical talking about the fights and stuff had we been able to use the actual footage. But we're limited to map streams. That's what we're doing. Phase 4 alive, make that 2, make that 1 alive. Not able to do a whole lot. And all of a sudden, it's a straight on 4v4 between TSM, who played it somewhat quietly on the northern side. You can see they came in late. Took the fight to 7 with a little help from Desperados, wrapped around, and all of a sudden, that entire side of the circle is cleared out. Great playing by TSM. What are they sitting at this point? They have 5 kills. And Liquid has 9. 9 to 5. Working 9 to 5. Kills. Split up in the middle. Liquid trying to wrap around. I wouldn't assume they're gonna allow them to do that, but no. Does happen anyway. James the flanker gets down Iroh. Rory gets taken down, but he does manage to get himself a knock on towards James. Evie goes down to Michael as well, now to 2v2. We got Gustav and Michael versus Gemty and Samty. Michael down. Ooh, Gustav finds Gemty. Gustav is tagged. Everyone's crawling. Samty versus Gustav, and they win. TSM wins it. Impressive. It's always, I mean, once you're in a straight 4v4. Yeah, exactly, Balthazar. They're all being active. Once you're in a 4v4 in the end and you lose the first guy, I think your win chance drops. There's obviously no statistically proven number to this, but by quite a margin. I mean, if losing that first player in a fight, that can be the complete complete rollover. And unfortunately, fortunately for TSM, even though they do lose Iroh early, they managed to turn things around. Gustav gets down. 70, that's a TSM victory on Sanhok. Again, quickly over game 3, not too much to talk about. We'll jump on over to game 4 immediately. He burns empty. Well, I'm glad to see Molotovs are being used at least sometimes. It's not very often that teams use Molotovs. I think there are different reasons to that. But it is, of course, it is always fun to see them used. Let's see now. New circle pups. New circle. First circle pups on Erangel. It's an eastern plane. Let's see. Okay, so FaZe, they're gonna take. Let's take a look at this again. Eastern plane, which means Milta power. No. Will TSM go down to Milta? We'll have to wait and see. Knights should be able to go. Will anyone go military? I doubt it, because you have Razor Edge, you have Desperados. I mean, FaZe, now we know that FaZe go prim, but they could potentially have gone military, actually. Let's see, DA, they're splitting out for vehicles. Razor Edge, they're going to take their split. TSM and Knights, they're fighting vehicles. Interesting. I was just going to say, are TSM actually going to commit to go all the way down to Milta? But seems like they are, but it comes to cost them. Huh. This is a tough situation. They're running. Or what? No, they do have cast now. Okay. I was just going to say. Well, that's them very, very, very late down to their loot spot. Very late. Also the same thing for Knights. Very, very, very late to their loot spots. And look where they have to go. Circle just went in the complete opposite direction. So the circle pops, and immediately, practically, DA starts moving. Desperados, same thing for them. They want to get a spot early, and seems like a lot of these teams are committing to the north. This is what I like to see. We've talked about it many times before. You want to have control of the water. Or at least you want to have a gateway that you can cross over whichever way the circle decides to shift. Liquid gonna take control of the hills. Razor Edge trying to make their way down towards plane crash. That should be doable. Page hearing vehicles stop on towards them. They'll force them back. Then 47 are gonna play the compound. G2, they're gonna come over and try and see if they can scout something further up the hill. But I think they probably either hear or see the vehicles, and they can also scout down towards Cube. So they'll be able to get that. New circle pups, and oh my lord. Are we seeing a Sage finish? I've never ever seen a game. I think the furthest north I've ever had a game end was here. Yeah, I've seen a game that ended there. And I've seen games that ended like here. I've had a game end that I played myself, but it was in public games, so that doesn't really count. Those down here. But I've never actually had like a Sagi ending before. Have any of you guys ever had that? Have you ever seen or played a Faceit game or seen a competitive game that went like up here? Anywhere inside this? Have you ever seen that before? I've never seen it. Never in my life have I seen it. You have windmills down here. Who even remembers those? But this circle is interesting for multiple reasons. A, if you want to rotate within it, you got 2 ways to cross. Unless if you're taking boats, of course. You got 2 bridges. We'll just mark them down here. There and there. And then you have this whole strip of mountain going from here. And then it kind of goes around like that and up. So, and you have the compound down here. You have the compound down here. The mountain, whoops. The mountain continues like. And then it kind of goes down that way. So this is all, like all the stuff within the white is high ground on this side. Like this is high ground position. And as you can see, vehicles coming in, it's so dangerous just driving blindly uphill. They can't really just drive up here, right? Because they don't know if there's a team already waiting up on the top, so it becomes extremely hard. If you're a team from over here, either you have to wrap all the way around and go in from here, go all the way down, but there's a compound blocking the vision, or you need to, well, pretty much just send it and hope that nothing goes wrong. And that's DA. Well, obviously DA, they'll just send it because they do that. G2 going full speed forward over the mountain. They're committing compound? Nope, they're turning around. I was just gonna say that's late. Trying to take control of those. DA, they managed to. They all survive? Yes, it seems like it. Get 4 guys in there. Ends, they're gonna take control. Mikas is kind of caught in the rock out there. That's a dangerous position to be in. But they have control down here. No one's inside the compound, and no one is staying up on the hill. They could kind of sort of pushing up towards it now, but we'll see if they stick around. Ratio Edge, they're coming up too. And then we gotta remember TSM. Far behind. Same thing with Knights because they're little skirmish they were in earlier in the game. Let's see now. Circle comes closing in. Navi, they're really late to it. Obviously, they were looting from far away as well. Reciprocity coming in the south. They're just gonna wait. And where, oh, where are we going now? So, what do we have here? A lot of water that needs to be excluded, if it can. B, a big city, which is shit. C, a huge field, which is not exactly amazing either. And D, a mountain. That's what we have to play around. Pick one. Water, city, fields, or mountain. There's not really any of these areas that seem that appealing, right? I mean, obviously, considering that the circle has to go north, it's going to shift into something like that. But it's just, there is not really an option here that's for players that are like, oh my god, this is an amazing circle. Also remember, we still have 56 people alive. And we already crammed them into a very, very, very small area of the map. Pretty damn difficult area to play from. TSM, they're playing the hilltop, but they know they're late to it. They need to do something, so they crash into the compound. Liquid now need to forced to go over to help, but they're gonna run straight into Reciprocity. That's a tough shift. They got crashed. They get crashed, and Liquid needs to go over and hold because if you sit 4 people here and these guys are still up in the mountains, then I mean you're gonna get shot. There's no way around it. So they go in here to force them to drive somewhere rather than stick around. But once they get crashed and Samsy and Evie try to come up to help from the side, Reciprocity is already here in raiding because they were just, I mean, they wanted to get a 3rd party opportunity too. They go down, Face now with a chance to do a 4th party, I guess you can say. Reciprocity, lose 3 players on that. Monkey manages to, well, die. I was just going to say manages to get to North George, but he didn't. And then we get this circle shift. That is a tough one. I don't think, I mean, I cannot recall having ever seen games going, as I said before, further west than like around where Fex and Hamstar. We did have a Contenders game that ended somewhere around here. That actually, or was it? So you've casted too many PUBG games. What game was that? No, because Ents were in it. That must have been a PEL game then. That ended up here that I casted. Huh. With Desperados on the north side. There was a team over here. But I've never been in Zagi though, that's for sure. That is for sure. Everything north of this road, I've never been to. So, you have George Paul on the south side. Which teams know? I mean, we're not gonna go into this field now, so we can't really wrap this way around. We have to just go back, and that's what FaZe realized too. We need to just play it safe from the backside and play the rest of the game on foot. So they push forward. Ends find them. They don't have that much room to work around. Still 42 people alive. That's amazing to me. Na'Vi, plenty of room on the northern side. N47. This whole area is like one big forest, so they have cover there. Grow crowd, they have the hilltop, they can see everything. Now the circle is forcing teams back into the field. That's tough. G2 dips. Everyone's just playing in small, like every little small dip. This is where you really get to learn the map. These situations are where you really learn the map, because it's so damn difficult to to really do anything when you're out here, and especially now if you're not inside the circle already. I don't see how or where you can find a spot to play from. But very interesting to me that the circle does go up here. Big field with, yes, hay bales and whatnot for cover, but as long as these hills are in, it's very difficult to really lay low anywhere. Circle forces teams even further out into the open. Ends sitting on the dot. Could potentially be a win for them, but then again, they could easily get breached by like a billion different teams. DA and NIP, they're fighting practically outside the circle on the south. Big cluster. Trifley comes over to try and third party. One team eliminated. Edelweiss doesn't want to take any part in it. He's a solo player. They end up getting them eliminated. That's going to be a lot of kills for Enzo already, right? Yep, 10 kills already. Rustin must 6 kills. Jesus Christ. Already got himself a billion kills. Desperados playing it safe. On the north, this is actually pretty smart disengage. Like, they knew they have to leave the compound. And look at what they do. Now, we can't see it like exactly. But it's the way that they move. You can pretty much tell what they do. Ultra, Tamil, cross together. Once they're over, again, cover for each other. So while Ultra and Tamil cross, Calvin and Simsi cover. Once they get over and kind of set up a beachhead on the other side, Calvin and Simsi can cross. They drive forward towards the bunkers or towards the hay bales. Now they have the cover. Now they can cover while Tamil and Simsi, or Tamil and Ultra move forward. So just constantly taking over for each other while you make your way further forward. Really smart playing, and also fortunately, both Gustav and Nils. I mean, Nils is not exactly a solo because he has Giannis and Braxco on the west, but he is a solo in the situation that there's no one there to trade him if he does go down. And also, I mean, G2 still has 3 players alive, so they might have a chance to get technically even a win if Nils can just stay hidden for longer. As to say that, he goes down. It's always like that. And he's dead. Ends for crushing back in towards that little rock formation thing they have to go with. Na'Vi, I think this is what everyone was waiting for, because they know there's a 4-man stack up on the northern side. I don't think they necessarily know that it's Na'Vi. They might at this point, but everyone is waiting to see what they do, I think. And knowing that Desperados sent 4 guys on this side, they're crashing around the left. I like the play from Na'Vi, but now they're getting eyes on from a lot of different angles. Gamer Legion, they push in from behind. Kind of fail in doing that. Edelweiss tried pushing up forward, doesn't work out for him. 4 alive in Desperados. And this just becomes a quiet game. I mean, this is very, very quiet, understandably so too, because there's practically no cover, and nobody has high ground anymore either. So you're not really in the situation where somebody has the upper hand vision-wise, so everyone's going to be proning, trying to play it smart, play it safe. Then that's why they're so close to each other without anyone fighting. Now, Ens managed to clear out Game of Legion. 4v1. Good luck. Goes down to blue. Makes perfect sense. Rust and Ma denies the points for Desperados. They are both kind of low in the league right now anyway. But good game for Desperados. They were cleaning up on the northern side. Let's see. What did they manage to get? 10 kills. That's a 20-point game. 14 kills by 2 players for Ens. That is pretty damn impressive. Good second place for them, for sure. That's what? 20 points second place? Pretty damn decent. And now to the last game of the day. Let's just update this. And again, I'm not normally doing this during the evening. I normally do the analysis during the day, but today was an exception. I think tomorrow, or not tomorrow, but the day after tomorrow, we'll do it during the day as well. I'm just testing out if this works during the evening. Western Plain. Similar to last game, honestly. This time around, they do go here. It's very similar to last game, this plane. But I guess it was a little further western. So N47, they're going to go down towards Prim instead of going Yasnaya. Razor Edge, Face, and TSM all go towards Military Island. Knights will get their loot out east. G2 will get their loot. NIP, they're all kinds of heavy. Same thing with pretty much anyone else that is up and around this area. Rotation-wise, plenty of opportunities. Not really a too much of a worry for anyone. Two-way split from early on by Liquid. They want to make sure they have some sort of control. If they can, but think about this. So many teams are pushing this way out to get to the west, right? If they can set up a blockade here and not necessarily kill everything, but kill a lot of what makes their way through here, they will have so much more control of what they rotate into themselves. Very smart way of setting up. Also, they can cover each other pretty easily from these spots. So as you can see, they're forcing a bit of a cluster now, a bit of a what do you call it, traffic jam for teams that potentially wanted to make it further. MT gets Gatka. Teams goes down there as well. Smart three-way split by Liquid, because no one's gonna contest that now. They don't have control of how many people are where. Really smart positioning. New circle. Oh, okay, so we go further west. Field. Swamp. I don't even need to draw it, but that's horrible. Field. These are places that you can't really, I mean, unless if you sit in one of these 3 positions, you can't really do a whole lot from. At least not at this point in the game. So as you can see, for the teams that are currently out east, G2, Knights, Reciprocity, DA, it's gonna be really hard to get a good spot in this next circle, because you have to either maneuver around all these fields or try and, because the thing is, once there's teams up here crashing this way, becomes very suicidal. So you need to wrap either around north, as we can see down here, all the way around south. G2, they were already kind of there, so they can go and take the compound. Fortunately, there was no one playing that position. 7, they're going up towards the observatory. And we'll see a lot of, the thing is, with this terrain, there's just so many areas that are really difficult to drive through. You have the quarry, you have all the little swamp areas there, and of course the big swamp area up here. And you can see if you're anywhere east and you have to get your vehicle, if you're anywhere west, I mean, it kind of goes both ways, honestly. If you're on either side, I guess I can say, of this, and you want to get a vehicle from A to B, or from anywhere on this side to this side, or the other way around, you can already now see the picture, right? You're very limited in where you can drive through, and even down here, it can be difficult at times. So if you draw up this as well, Your only real crossing is here. I guess through here. All through the fields on the northern side. But there's a position there you can play, which they don't know if anyone is on. That means you can cross through there, but not really. Then you have to go all the way around. And that can be difficult because there can be teams here. You see what I mean? So all these positions can be taken. This you don't want to drive through. Here's horrible. It's just, I mean, vehicles in general on the western side of Erangel is very, very, very difficult. As opposed to the east where it's just flat and fields everywhere. Except for in the forest I mentioned. Let's see the new circle pop. Center. Okay, so we center up somewhat. Again, swamp, open field, more swamp, big open, what is it called? Foresty area, but it's like the downhill to the dirt road. A lot of very difficult to play areas in this circle. The thing is, you can play swamp, but it's, I don't know, swamp is one of those areas that you can play, but I think it's a last resort type situation to be in. Because even though swamp can grant you all the cover you want, having to leave there can be difficult sometimes. I don't actually know. I don't know. If there's anyone in the chat, I don't know if we're that lucky today when we do the broadcast in the evening, but if there's anyone in the chat from PEL or contenders or anyone with competitive playing experience, I would like to hear your thoughts on swamp and playing from swamp. If that's only something you do because nothing else is available, or if some teams actually kind of like playing from swamp. I'm gonna have to ask some people that later as well. Ooh. Okay, this is fun. Now we have, okay, G2 don't count because they have a position already. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We don't really, do we count Pokemon as a solo? I don't know. Let's do it anyway. 9. We have 9 teams right now that are not inside the circle. And let's take a look at this. Like, this is the most fortificated. What do you call it? Fortificated? Fortified? In any case, look at this. If you're talking entrance points to the circle, right? Swamp is shit. That's a block off. And also, in order to get to swamp, there's a big open field here you have to cross. That's not good. That's gonna be a big red no-no. On the east side, you have a big old field. That's a big old no-no. On the northern side, you have a big old field. With these positions being in... Now, it is 7, and I know they're rather passive, which is strange to me still. But in any case, you have a road you would have to cross. And roads late in the game, we'll draw it in blue. For the sake of different color. Like, look at this. A road. And a road. You see what I mean? Road blocking the south. Road blocking the north. Field blocking the east. Swamp blocking the west. How the hell do you get inside this circle? I mean, this is heaven on earth, of course. But how in the universe do you get there? Unless if you like TSM, as it seems, probably just full speed send it. This is heaven on earth, but it is very difficult to get to heaven. Because then you have compound, but you know what I mean. Observatory, compound. The only place you can really crash is from the east. But you're going in completely blind. Like, you have no vision of what you're going into. This shift is probably one of the hardest ones to go into. Unless if you just, we have no vision, let's just go and see what happens. Kind of send it forward. Curious to see what these guys do. Speaking of full speed sending it forward. Let's see though. TSM, not I thought they were gonna go further, but yep, okay, yep. DA, they do it. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. This case it did. Sometimes you just gotta send it. And that's exactly what they do. Everyone's making their way further forward. TSM managed to hold off the teammates from, right? Yeah, or they finished them above, okay. Gamer Legion managed to hold from underneath. Ratio edge push down below. You can see how everyone is just forced to play extremely far out on the edges, right? That is interesting. Again, the road having to cross is going to be hard with 7 on top. The compound is hard to get past. Gamer Legion will do what they can to try and hold them off. Again, any team, this is a very Sanhok-esque situation. Any team that is here is not going to give a rat's ass about what's happening in the middle. They need to focus on clearing their edges, or the edges of the circle. So DA, all they need to worry about is this direction. Same thing for N47. They couldn't care any less about that James and EB in the middle. They need to worry about this. 7, worry about this. Snark and Yanis, there's Cat, Tom and Jerry running on the east side. Gamer Legion, they get down one team, but they end up getting caught off themselves. Amster can sneak his way forward. EB and James, they're alive in the middle. That's interesting. Yanis makes the kill on towards 1, tries to drive forward now. That's kind of YOLO. Does go down because of it. And this is a big, like for those of you guys who don't know the exact terrain around here, uphill push towards where the, what do you call it, the observatory itself is. And around the sides is like really steep downhill. Like something like that. Ish. So this is all really steep downhill. And then you have like another plateau here. That kind of is where it goes more uphill. So we can do it like that. It goes a little more uphill. And this is all like the high ground plateau-ish area. So all these people are trying to make their way up that hill. 7 clearing the east side. Great play by 7 to come out and clear. They've given up control. Oh, not given up control, but they've stopped caring too much about the actual building itself, and that's good because 7 is one of those teams, alongside DA, that, in my opinion at least, has tended to be a little too overcommitted to playing compounds, and that has come to cost them. So we'll see now. Edelweiss gets the knock and flush onto 1. Monkey gets taken down. 7 again, smart playing by them. Gets 1 knocked, gets back up on their feet, keeping 4 guys alive. This is more of the 7 that I've seen before. Now, I did watch the end of this game, so I do know how it ends. Edelweiss by himself tries to get back in. And this is where they over-aggress. I don't mind Edelweiss being on his own, but when you send 3 guys in a pile because you want to make sure no one wraps, then you don't have this guy do something else. If you commit 3 guys to holding an angle, then it's the 3-man team that goes aggressive. It's not the solo. If 3 guys go to take dominance over a spot, then the last guy is the one holding the back. And Edelweiss isn't holding any back, so he's running around, as you can see. And he gets himself killed because of it. So in my opinion, in this situation, if they're there, Edelweiss has, and it's difficult because there's no windows on this side of the building, but you need to stay inside and be safe. They just lost 1 for kind of apparently or seemingly no reason, but obviously ends they realize, you know what, I think there's this is a no-go. We need to kind of go back the other way. They end up running down into an IP, and that becomes the death of them. Rostenma again. Good top placement for ends. Top 3 once again. They got 2nd place the game before. 7 trying to sneakily peekily making their way forward. Smokes everywhere. James and Evie I mean, considering how early they lost their teammates, that's actually a pretty good game. Teams go down, didn't see Sadovnik. And now it becomes a pretty straight up fight between all of them. I would have assumed that once this engagement happened, and since they had 3 guys on the ridge already, that they would have committed to pushing around this way. But because because Edelweiss got taken down over here, then they stopped. Like they didn't wanna commit here because they were afraid that these guys then would be able to crash over and third party them. So even though I thought in this situation that they should have been more aggressive and not hiding by their smokes, it actually kind of makes sense the way that they play this one safe in the end. So decent situation for 7. They could have been more aggressive in the end, but I think the only fault they have there is losing Edelweiss kind of unnecessarily when these guys are all holding, as we said about before. But the way they go out, like the way they understand the situation they're in and how they need to clear their top, how they need to clear all this before they can really do anything else, denying the rotations on over, pretty good situation for them to play from. Pretty good game for them. And that's going to be the analysis for the day. Short, but makes sense. Yeah. So if you're watching on YouTube, thank you so much for watching. See you next time.